Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. This is a special broadcast I'm doing today with my friend Daniel. Now, I just need to say that there are a number of things we're going to be talking about, hopefully politically. We're going to talk about David Littleproud and what all of that means. We're talking about Matt Canavan now being the national leader and what does that mean in terms of us moving further to the right. And I've got a poll up which I'd like you all to contribute to. I've got 8 votes at the moment. Does the election of Matt Canavan as the Nationals leader move politics further to the right? At the moment, 75% of the people are saying yes, and no is 25%. If you're a no, please contribute to the comment section because I'd be quite interested to know why you think that is. Remembering that our conversations are always about letting you have the opportunity to have a discussion with myself and Daniel in this case about issues that matter to you. And I do need to say, please subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. And if you hit the thanks button, send us some cash in terms of just a cup of coffee would be nice. We really do appreciate that as well. I have voted, Stone says. Thank you very much. And look, as your comments come in, look, I do need to say that I did a video, an interview with Daniel, which I posted yesterday. And there may be some of you, it's got some 200 plus viewers at this point of time. It's a lengthy interview, but it's a valuable interview in terms of understanding the Islamic faith. And so I do need to say, Daniel is a Muslim. If any of you have questions in relation to any of that, please let us know because I will refer those questions, if need be, to Daniel. So at this particular point, and I do need to say one other final thing, is that I will not stomach anything that's Islamophobic, and we will delete you if you do say something. And remember that this is an unusual time for me to post. Normally, I do a live feed on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Tuesday sometimes with Nathan Ogilvie and sometimes by myself. And on Thursdays, of course, is the famous post I do with Mr. Hilditch. So those posts, so I'll still be doing a post tomorrow afternoon with him, which will be quite interesting, talking about particularly the United States and what's happening in relation to the war. But at this particular point, I'd like to welcome my friend Daniel to the feed. How are you, Daniel?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Tony?
How are you feeling about this? This is a dive into an area which you haven't necessarily experienced, not on this channel anyway. How are you feeling about doing this today?
Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. I suppose I was looking forward to it. In fact, I have been commenting on a lot of things in my life. Commenting on politics is my birthright, I believe it is. So, but doing this for the first time on your channel is something that's I think I like doing, or it has come to be important.
I think you're about to find out whether you like doing it or not. It's particularly challenging. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you know as much about or are as interested in a lot of these things that I am. Because Daniel and I haven't done this before. Daniel and I haven't talked about this stuff in any great detail either. So I'm not making excuses for Daniel, but I'm just saying there may be some things that Daniel might wish to pass on, which is fine by me because there's plenty that we can talk about over this next hour. And please, keep coming. Smudge, thank you. Hi, everyone, he says. And Dee says hi all as well. So just keep the comments coming and let us know what you think. Remembering that we're looking at, does the election of Matt Canavan as the Nationals leader move politics further to the right? I believe it does. And we're just going to talk about Matt in just a moment. But I wanted to start with, just to put everybody in the right picture, and Daniel as well, I'm going to have a look at a little bit of David Littleproud's comments yesterday when he announced his resignation from the leadership of the party. Because it's important to understand in context what this is all about. And there's some things I want to particularly say about the things that he said here. So I'll play this video and we will look at it and make comment. Whoops, no audio on that. I just have to change something here. This is what happens when I set up in a hurry, which I will do right now. So I'll just change this as soon as I can figure out how to do it. Okay, that should be fine. Oh, hold on. No, yes, that's where I'm wrong. I'll just change it. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to organise myself here, which is often a struggle in itself. Here we go. This should be right now.
I believe that it is now time to transition to a new leader. I had intended to leave the leadership after the coalition was reformed, but I thought it was my responsibility to transition into a new leadership in the coalition. And I'm satisfied from what I've seen of Angus Taylor and the way that he has handled himself that we are now competitive again. The values and principles that Angus has brought back to the coalition gives me confidence that the coalition's on the right track. He's a man that'll be a great Prime Minister for this country, and I just say to Australians, please take the time to get to know him. He's actually a great bloke, and he stands for what's right in this country. He's a great patriot, and he'll do a great job. But I'm buggered. I'd have enough. To lead this great party would be the wrong thing for me to do. I love the National Party. I grew up in it. I'll bleed till the day I die, green and gold. I love it. And it would be wrong for me to say that I'm the right person to continue to lead. That's tough for me to say. I think someone better can do it because I don't have the energy. I'm out on my feet and I'm done. But I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of us recapturing our identity for who we are and what we stand for.
Okay, and we don't necessarily need to hear David talk about the wonderful things that he's done, like, you know, defeating The Voice, which was a dismal and pathetic effort by the Nationals, and he takes a lot of pride in that sort of stuff. How I feel about David going is probably a different issue altogether. I don't give a shit, to be quite honest, but nevertheless, he's moved further. So now he has moved, and they've moved a little bit further to the right with Matt Canavan being appointed. So I'll just bring up this particular news article. Emotional David Littleproud steps down as leader of the National Party. In an emotional media conference, part of which you just heard, David Littleproud has announced he'll step down for the National Party. David Littleproud has stepped down as leader. Yep. Emotional press conference. Yep. He cried. He had his wife Amelia on his side. And Mr. Littleproud revealed he was exhausted and intended to resign after coalition reunited for a second time in months. The Queenslander will continue to serve in Parliament as the member of Marona, and said he intended to contest the next federal election in 2008. As you just heard, he's buggered. He loves the National Party, poor bastard, and National MPs seemed genuinely shocked by the announcement. It is unclear who is most likely to replace him. We now know that the person that will be replacing him will be Matt Canavan, a disaster. Senator Matt Canavan, Deputy Leader Kevin Hogan have announced plans to do, well, we know who won that. Littleproud broke into tears as he spoke to reporters, disclosing it had been pretty rough since the coalition. And the question, I guess, that we need to ask is why, David, was this so tough, given that you are the leader of one of the three major parties in Australia, excluding One Nation, of course, who now probably surpass you. Is the reason, though, that I don't know whether, if you've got any comments about any of this, my ramblings, Daniel, just let me know. But I do wonder whether or not David has decided that not only was it exhausting, that the party is going to be wiped out at the next election, that One Nation are too strong and too powerful, and that they will be taking over many of their seats, which is on the cards. And whether he's just getting out beforehand because he doesn't know how to have the fight. Do you have any version on any of that?
Well, I think since the Liberals' defeat and Labour took over, I think a lot of the mileage that was with the Liberals has been lost. I particularly don't really understand how local governments in Queensland and up north function, and their political capital with with the local governments. But I think when Labor has given a decisive defeat to the Liberals, I think much of the mileage that they had, political capital they had, seems to have gone or drained. And I think Labor people had great expectations in Australia with Labor Party, but not all is rosy, I should say. And Labor could have acted with impunity because they got the majority vote, and they could have done well and moved um, particularly strong in areas where Liberals were sort of sluggish and lacking. But I think Labor is failing the electorate, um, the confidence of the voters. I suppose I was contemplating myself not to vote for Labor in the future. But yeah, I think a lot of the mileage that Liberals had or wielded over Australia seems to have waited in the wake of people's response given to the Labor in favor of Labor, basically. And I don't know why particularly David left. I can imagine people are the most difficult things to deal with, and a man with values would necessarily be hard dealing with people, because if you are basically succumbing to the demands of the people, mostly the rich who try to exert authority over the politicians or governments, the lobbyists, the mining magnates. If you have values with which you would like to stand by, I can imagine how difficult it would be, as the dynamic underneath you would be shifted based on the lobby power that would be exerted on you. You know what I mean?
Can I just ask you? You raised an interesting point, which is worth discussing, and that is that you said that you'd be less likely to vote for Labor these days. Can I ask you then, Daniel, who would you be your preferred party at this particular point in time if you're not voting Labor?
Well, I speak to a number of different people, and they express great amount of lack of confidence with the Greens to be able to manage the economy in specific in Australia. And a lot of that comes from how naive Greens might be with the mining magnates, that they have strong values to stand with, and they might not really succumb to the demands of the capitalists in Australia. That's where the lack of confidence would be broadcasted against the Greens. But I would likely vote Greens because their values are people friendly, I should say. Not necessarily tailored to serve the elite in the across the board in Australia, but they have a people orientated portfolio, and but at the same time, I think I would say in terms of leadership, because they're new, that's where trust comes into picture, and I think greater engagement from the Greens with the people of Australia can actually shift the balance in their favor if they are successful in making greater engagement with the people of Australia as such.
Yep. So would you? So where do you think, we haven't discussed this, folks, but where do you think One Nation fit amongst all of this stuff?
Well, look, to be honest with you, One Nation's is pretty skewed in their what they have to offer to the people of Australia, their values, their ambitions, objectives, goals, and or milestones, call it what and whatnot. Their portfolio to me appears very skewed and very narrow in terms of their understanding of what a nation is, and what would benefit a nation, and how they would profile Australia in the larger Pacific, in this part of the world, and internationally as well. I think from what Pauline Hanson has to say, she already sucks up to Donald Trump so much, and we clearly know that Trump. And we clearly know that Trump is, downhill, losing this, a blundersome move that he has made. So it's costing American reputation, costing America wielding power in the Middle East. It's nearly the case that they would be losing all of their bases in the Middle East. And what good has this move done for Trump or for American capitalists? It's counterproductive. It's shot back in their foot. And if this is what Pauline wants to do, what better future awaits Australia, especially when Chinese have a critical view, a critical eye view on Australia, and we already have received warnings from China not to play big in regions where our interests are not involved. So, in this
Yep.
scheme of the things, if America goes down, what do you reckon happens to Pauline Hanson?
Yep, true. I mean, it's a good question, but we could talk about that in a moment. I've just got a post here which I'll put up, which someone asked a really interesting question, which perhaps we could respond to. Elite is political class. That's what happens when you vote for more socialism. So I think it wouldn't hurt to analyse what socialism means. And what is what is more socialism? What does that specifically refer to? And if you've got anybody in the comment section who's got a response to that, please let us know, because I'm confused, because there are many aspects of the Australian society which are socialistic. And we could think about the safety net that we have for most people when they're struggling or if they're unemployed, and we can think about Medicare. That's socialist policy. So what would it mean? So this is Cooper has said that, Coupans. So what is it that you think means that we're going to become more socialistic? So what does that mean? Are we, do you think that we're going to become more communist? I don't know either. I don't even know whether that's good or a bad thing. So let's have that discussion. I thank you for at least putting that at you. Sorry, go on, mate. Go on.
Yeah, look, Tony. I mean, the socialism that I would sign up to is the lobbyist should have zero control on the administration. That's what I would call socialism. All right. I'm not in favor of communist sort of definition where the government sort of begins owning everything. That's not what I'm trying to sort of favor or subscribe to. Socialism to me is just very simple. I want lobby power to be eliminated, cancelled. I don't want the electorates to be funded by lobbyists. I just don't want that. I can't tolerate this. Once they funded, they wield so much of the power on the government begins functioning in their favor and not so much in the favor of the people. So this is what I mean, a socialist outlook for the political portfolio of Australia would be that eliminate the lobby power, eliminate the funding, the electoral funds from the filthy rich mining magnates, take that out, purge it out, throw it to the bin, and then we have a government.
So I guess it's fair to say, and I couldn't agree with you more, that people like Gina Reinhardt and others tend to have a great deal of influence. We now know that that James Packer has just contributed a whole stack of money. Well, last election he contributed some $180,000 to Advance. So I guess they're the things that you're thinking about, because we need to understand, I think, what is it that these people expect to get out of this system. And when some persons are talking about socialism at one level and we're talking about corporatization of politics at another, they stand in stark contrast to each other, I think. We've got politics being influenced, as you say, heavily by finances. So the question remains then, because this has been a perpetual problem, not just in Australia, but particularly in the United States, of course. So we perhaps need to be asking ourselves also, how do we get rid of the manipulation of votes, of policies that are actually about benefiting the rich and the wealthy? Because I think that's kind of what you're saying, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the amount of power that these rich lobbies have or have wielded on Australian government is significant, and much of this comes from international side of the equation, because around like more than 80% of the mining resources are held by foreign players, American businessmen from the UK. These are the sort of people who are wielding unimaginable power both economic and political decision making on Australia. Why do you think Australia is even um, responding so quickly to be sending our military to the Middle East? Why? Just few months ago, I remember same person, Penny Wong, making a statement. Oh, that's nothing. That's got nothing to do with us. We are not involved, right? But months later, the position is Penny Wong is struggling to articulate this commitment that Australia has just made to send out a defensive military arrangement to the Middle East, dispatched just today. Okay, and she struggles to articulate this to the people of Australia. Why do you think this happens in the background? Because these government officials are not the ones in control. The ones who are in control are these mining magnates who wield excessive power into Australian government, and the politicians run out of mileage within their own parties because a few paychecks can turn the tide within their own parties, and leaders can get switched. And even the army, we have our allegiance to the British Empire. We still are a sense of a monarchy. So whatever the monarchs in the UK decide, that sort of distills down into our government here, and the army would respond to the
I
monarchs in
think
the
the
UK.
argument, I'm not going to try and justify the decision to send that airplane and the 80 support staff to go with it, I hasten to add, because you do raise a really good issue. The reason, I'm not suggesting it's the correct reason, I'm just giving some feedback about the reason, is that there are 24,000 people living in the AEU, and we're there to, I don't believe it personally, but that is the reason that's being offered, is that we are actually supposed to be protecting expats that are in the AEU. I don't know, Daniel, whether you believe that's necessarily the case. I certainly have an issue with the fact that we bend the knee to the United States, but I have heard that this request hasn't come from the United States. According to the Minister of Defence, it actually has come from the AEU. And I think part of the other reason why it's come from them is that the Iranians have destroyed many of the satellites and the protection that they had in terms of radar and all that sort of stuff. And Australia's going, because apparently, I didn't know this, apparently we have one of the best services in the world in relation to these particular aeroplanes and the services they provide and the technology they have. So I understand some of that logic, but then I do wonder, is it a backroad way by which we are going to become more and more involved in the war? What do you think about that? Is it likely?
Absolutely. What if that plane that just went today gets hit? What is going to be the recourse? What do you
Yeah.
think the government of Australia would respond with? What do you think the army of Australia would do? The army chief of Australia would do? So these are the questions that we have to ask. I mean, as Penny Wong just said today, I was watching her say that it's just not that she is sending this plane out of a defensive need, wanting to safeguard the Australians that are stuck in Middle East right now. Well, they can be escorted. Send a plane, escort them. And I remember just a plane came back empty, like half empty or something like that. If the residents in Gulf are not interested to return to Australia, like what do we even make out of it? Like why do you send a plane to give them protection while the region is chaotic at the moment? What if this plane
Well,
gets shot? What if
I
the
think one
service
of the
member gets shot?
reasons, yeah, and I agree with you, but I think one of the reasons for that is that many of them work there. So this is their jobs. So that's one of the reasons why they're there. But the Australian government, you're right, has also offered them, all those 24,000 people, an opportunity to come back to Australia if they desire. And you're right, their choice to stay is simply their choice. So I just wanted to come back, because I'm a bit anal about some of this shit. I just wanted to come back, Daniel, to Matt Canavan and my original thing. I just wanted to remind people that does the election of Matt Canavan as the Nationals leader move politics forward to the right? At the moment, we've got 20 votes, 75% say yes, 75% say yes, 25% say no. and we've got a lot of people online as well. And I wanted to come to this particular post, and I just want to say thank you. I'm trying to find what I'm doing here. I just want to say thank you to this person who gave us $2. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And anybody else that's online, send us a cup of coffee. We really do appreciate it. So thanks for that. We have a treaty with the UAE. We do. But yeah, God, we have a treaty with friggin' everybody. A treaty with the United States. But I certainly hope we don't. We have treaty. We have agreements. I don't know. We have treaties. We have agreements with the United States as well. But look, thanks for joining in the conversation, and thanks for the contribution.
With the UAE, do we? Do we have a treaty with UAE? Do we have a defense treaty with UAE? I don't think so.
I don't know what the treaty is. I don't know whether it's a defense treaty or a, hope you're doing okay treaty, hope you're all right, mate treaty. I don't know what the treaty is specific. If someone can tell me what that treaty is.
Defense treaty. I think what we may have do certainly is Australia has gotten involved in the Middle East. It's nothing new. Going back to the 80s. The Gulf War, when U.S. fought Saddam Hussein with a coalition of 35 countries, and Australia was one among them, right? So Australia did make a presence in the Middle East from a very long time, and I think a lot of the stakes in the Middle East run around oil resources, and a lot of the mining magnates are involved in it, and they would want to secure their interests. I mean, it's impossible for them to lose the resource-rich Middle East. They cannot. You cannot come to comprehend this situation for them. How bewildered they are, right? So they would do everything in order to restore, the status quo in the Middle East. So they would require help, and America is in need of help. I mean, clearly you can see that. So all of that cooks up in the background. Is that what I'm trying to allude to? It's not that we are independently making these decisions. Our government is independently making these decisions. We are being heavily influenced, and much of this influence comes from the mining magnates.
So someone's put up a post. I don't know if you can see it on your screen. It does say the Australian UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Well done. Someone Googled it while we were talking about it, because the people in my comment section are smart people. I want you to know that, Daniel. They're well informed and they know how to Google. Signed on the 6th of November 2024, aims to enhance trade and investment ties between Australia and the UAE. Key features include, they haven't listed them here, but I'm sure if we had time to Google it, we would find out. So, yeah, appreciate that, Stone. Thank you very much for that. That's great. So we do have an agreement, but it doesn't seem to be militarily based either.
Absolutely.
As they're saying here, it's enhanced trade and investment ties, which is what one could expect from a country that's sort of covered in oil. So, yes, and I guess there's a lot of people there from which we can export our wonderful products like kangaroo skins and sort of hats with corks hanging off, or kangaroo. Beg pardon?
We do export camel meat, I suppose.
I do. Well, yeah, we do. We've got plenty of them running around out in the bush, I can tell you. So, yeah, thanks for letting us know that. That's important. I just wanted to come back to the Matt Canavan thing, because, as I said before, I'm a wee bit anal. But I wanted to come back to this because this lends us to, and we'll get back to some of these things we've been discussing. It's a great discussion so far, Daniel. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, mate. You've clearly got a lot to offer. So I just want to come back to this conversation about Matt, because it does tend to help us just evaluate where Australian politics is going right at this particular moment. So in this particular article, it says populist right-wing Matt Canavan has been let leader of the Nationals in a major pivot for the ailing regional party as it seeks to take on Barnaby Joyce and Pauline Hanson's One Nation. And I think that, we can say that that's kind of like the goal, the aim, the objective, if you like. Canavan has spent years rebelling against the coalition's net zero emissions targets and arguing for the use of fossil fuels. He has taken on a more disciplined role since the opposition dumped net zero as a policy position last year, telling colleagues for months he was ready to lead the party. Deputy Leader Kevin Hogan was viewed as a safer pick and won support from most of Little Proud's more moderate support base. To win, Canavan needed to convince MPs his straight-talking, Christian right brand of politics, his incessant appearance on friggin' Sky News. All this stuff plays out, supporting the region as it portrays the coalition as meek and out of touch on migration and energy. Canavan, the father of 5 from Queensland, is showing colleagues in recent months that he has to fight in the nous to joust with Hanson, criticising her for her remarks about Muslims, portraying the party as impotent and driven by protest and questioning Joyce's character when he defected from the Nationals. So, what does all of that shit tell us about Matt Canavan? Well, I tell you one thing, Matt Canavan's going to appear on Sky News so much that you'll think he owns the bloody station by the end of the day. So it will be interesting to see the degree to which he tries to. But some of the things that he does stand against, which is net zero, energy. The man is one of those dudes, I reckon, that wants to live back in the 1950s and 60s. You know, he's prehistoric. And is not moving forward. And I don't know what you think about this, but I don't know how Matt Canavan's perspective on the world is necessarily going to challenge the notions that are presented by Pauline Hanson. I mean, his anti-immigration, his anti-Muslims, his anti-renewables, his anti so many of those things that are also part of Pauline Hanson's stick. That I just don't know whether or not that's necessarily going to break through, unless they think, I'll be interested in this, you could tell me, do they think that moving further to the right with someone like Matt Canavan is going to mean that they're going to attract some of the votes that they've already lost back from One Nation? What do you think, Daniel?
Well, look, there's a simple equation right now for how things are unraveling in the world right now in the Middle East. The Queenslanders, if they're not in favor of the Liberals or the Labor or the Greens, they have gotten the answers from what's happening to America right now. So they might anyway elect to move away from Pauline Hanson's One Nation. And it's just that David's resignation is just unfortunate for him, because Canavan is going to take away all the rights, all the votes, all the wins. So the wins will come to Canavan, just free floating, not having to do much at all. So he would still secure a win, because the way the international politics is dictating things, I think Queenslanders have got the answers, and they will ditch Pauline Hanson at this point.
Oh my God!
Without Canavan having to live.
Oh, there's a statement. Now we're going to keep that snippet from you just to see whether it happens. What do you mean they're likely to? Do you think the Queenslanders, who are definitely One Nation type people, I guess, and no offence to any Queenslanders that are on this feed, but do you think that Queenslanders are going to be fed up, sick and tired of One Nation to the point whereby they may not vote for them?
No, I don't think so. They will get sick and tired. They would just see what has happened to Donald Trump in this blunder of his, and they would see there's no future with one nation. I mean, it's a very simple decision. It's a single.
So
switch
you
that
okay?
You
okay,
you
I hear what you're saying,
and you switch.
Yeah, so you're saying that, and I don't disagree with this at all. You're saying that that what's happening in the Middle East may determine, and the One Nation's acquaintance or association with Trumpism and the disaster that is Trump, period, particularly through this war, may mean that people may choose to recognise that for what it is and not vote One Nation.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Our educational system, I think I do believe in the educational system that we have in Australia. Kids graduating high school are pretty talented, I should say. My own kids, they're smart enough. I wasn't even that smart when I was a little kid. So you can imagine when my kids are finishing school, they are over there already to make those decisions for themselves. So from what's happening in the world right now, it's a big telling story for them. They're watching it and they're learning it, and they would see Pauline Hanson as a failed politician who could not really articulate herself to be serving the interests of the people of Australia, and they would just dump her. It's a plain simple
Yeah.
equation, and I don't think Canavan would want to even lift a finger to secure a win.
Do we actually think that that Queensland is that smart?
Well,
I don't.
you don't want
I
to
don't
downplay
know.
them.
No, I shouldn't say that. Hey, look, I've got to confess something. I've got a son and a daughter that were raised in Queensland, and they're pretty smart. So I don't mean that about Queenslanders. I mean that they do have a voting history, though, which tends to indicate that they're further right of politics than the rest of Australia. I guess that's your point, isn't it? That they are. But are they? Do you think they're capable of recognising the connection between what's happening in Iran and One Nation's alliance with Trump? I guess that's the point.
I mean, it's a good point. Don't get me wrong. One of my friends who works, one of my friends' acquaintances who works up in Queensland in the mines out there, they did share that Queenslanders are. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Is it okay to say rednecks? I don't know if it's allowed, if I'm allowed to say that.
Well, we've got to be careful about who we're referring to as rednecks.
Okay,
It's a very
this is the kind of vibe that I got, that people over there are actually not, very much prejudiced, very biased, going into elections and going into what defines Australia, the white Australia thing and everything. But we people, we learn through mistakes, and when there is a kick in the gut in American politics, that's big enough story to experience pain. And if Queenslanders don't wake up to this situation and feel pain in their gut, I don't know what else would it need for them to have a change of mind, to be honest with you.
yeah.
So this is a big kick in the gut. Yeah.
We need to. So so we're going to talk about in a moment the Iranian soccer team, but someone did, and this is a point too. So occasionally I just pick up things that people are saying and bring them up because the people that are in my comment section are really smart, much smarter than I am. You mentioned about your children being smart. I've got a 2.5-year-old granddaughter who's heaps smarter than I am, I can tell you. She'll tell you off in a flash. So it's very super assertive. It's scary, in fact. But someone has said this, which I think we can talk about just for a second, and I really do appreciate. Keep your comments coming. I really do appreciate them. We need to move away from Zionism. We need money here, not for genocidal Israel. And there's another issue about this providing of funds and money to governments, and that is to ensure that money isn't used, e.g., to go to Israel and to pay for the Zionistic destruction of Gaza. And I think that's an issue that I think still simmers under the surface, but we don't tend to have dealt with very well. So I want to thank person who put up that post. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of
Sandra.
agree with him. The people in Australia are given to work enormous number of hours, actually. A country as small as Australia is, 26 million people, and making its people work like dogs. I mean, don't get me wrong. This statement is not mine. This statement is by people who are in the government. All right, I did work for the government for a brief period of time, and once back from holidays, people come back to their chairs and make these statements for themselves, and I was shocked to listen people talking like this. I'm here working like a dog. I was questioning, why do you even come to work when you have such a sorry feeling? Like, stay home, and a government in Australia is good enough to allow you to survive. They won't let you die. You don't have to come back, show up to work feeling like that, working like a dog kind of thing. So I do recognize, like, for example, I was in the UK for some time.
I do need to ask you, how do dogs work? I don't. Are they
Well,
talking about sheepdogs and? I'm just
perhaps,
curious. It just gets me that saying.
perhaps. Like I was in the UK. Don't get me wrong. I was in the UK, and it's like a half a day Friday. All right. So they work like 30. How many hours? I even I think they work like 38 hours or something like that. So they take half a day on a Friday. They knock off, and it gives so much solace to workers. Like I enjoyed a work week in the UK, to be honest with you, and I think Australia, 26 million people, should be a much more relaxed economy. People should have time with their family, going out and about, not really stressing at work 5 days a week, and crashing into the weekend, trying to grab sleep and rushing back on a Monday morning. It's chaotic for Australians with such a small country, man. To be honest with you, we can have much
And
better
there's, I
government.
mean, there
Yeah.
have been efforts. I mean, not an effort. They've actually done it. The Labor government have brought in working from home as a legislative norm. So we are blessed, I guess, in that we do have a government that does consider those things. That's for sure. Someone has said, "Oh, this is Sandra again." Sandra, you've got to think about Zionism. I can tell, which is fine. But she says Zionism is pervasive here.
Yeah.
Oh, can we talk about this for a minute? So this person,
Sure.
Sandra, thank you, because
Sure.
you just raised another issue.
Sure.
And look, I know we jump all over the place. Welcome to my YouTube channel. But but this is the point. The point is you come up with a statement or something and it triggers something else. So I'd be interested in your version of this too, Daniel, is to what extent do people like Gillian Siegel, who's the envoy for anti-Semitism and that sort of stuff, to what extent does she have power and influence in terms of pushing the anti-Semitism wheelbarrow? Because I just want to make this point. Someone said recently there are two things that Israel does to defend itself. It has the Iron Dome, which doesn't really defend it nowadays, apparently. Not only that, they have, if you attack Israel, you're anti-Semitic, which is their other defense mechanism as well. And Sandra has sent us $10, which is great. I just want to bring that up too, Sandra. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. It's great to have your support. I think it's wonderful. I get emotional when I think about the fact people are giving us money.
Yeah.
But
Wonderful.
it is wonderful. So, I mean, what do you think about that? That anti-Zion, the point Sandra raises, which is Zionism plays a role in our politics. I am convinced, Daniel, that you've got an idea, a version of all of this, and I'm just giving you the forum now to go for it.
One thing that became exceptionally clear, even to a little kid in Australia, was this: when Anthony Albanese was walking down to the ceremony for after the fallout of the Hanukkah, the shooting at Hanukkah, and Anthony Albanese was paying his respects by visiting the services, I think the funerary services. The Zionists were unbelievable. It was unbelievable and shocking to the bone that they were hurling insults and being sarcastic at Anthony Albanese, surmounting every kind of disrespect and challenging him. And I mean, that was horrible scene, and you could tell every kid in Australia sort of became familiar with the intensity of Zionist force that's operating in the fabric of Australian society. It became very apparent because Anthony Albanese, as the prime minister, I mean, you can talk about him, you can criticize him, but to hurl insults even when he's walking down to pay his respects at the funerary service, that was appalling and awful. And every child sort of learned what power does the Zionist entity wield in Australian politics. So that was unbearable, actually, for me, to be honest with you, even though I don't really agree with everything Albanese does. But that was quite disrespectful of our leader to be insulted in public forums like that, public spaces like that.
Do you think that they have?
What did you think of that? What did you take of that situation when you saw that on
Well,
the
I
news?
agree with you. I thought it was appalling. I think that the Zionists in Australia have too much power and too much influence. We're talking about a very small portion of the population. Uh, Muslims outrate the number of Jewish people by 4 to 1. So, there's far more Muslim voices that should be heard proportionately than Zionists. But the question remains is why is it that Zionism, the Israel state, seem to have such a dominant influence over Australian politics? Why is it that we have a royal commission, though, Daniel, into what appeared to be anti-Semitism when we have Islamophobia, we have racism, particularly against First Nations people. We have all these other issues that should be confronted at the same level, but it was anti-Semitism that seemed to be at the forefront. I don't get it, and I find it's appalling the amount of influence this group has. And I just need to conclude, I think, this particular segment by saying there are heaps of Jewish people who are not Zionists. And we need to acknowledge that those people are there. They have a voice. Anthony Lowenstein is a great one. If you ever watch his podcast and his reporting on what happens in Israel, he is amazing. There are many of them out there. And they need to be supported as well. Those Jewish people need to be supported in their stand against Netanyahu and people like he and Donald Trump, I think. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, Jewish people are as much sacred as the Christian monks are and the Islamic peoples are. So all of these people, all people in the world deserve respect and dignity and kind treatment. No one is excluded. The only ones that should be and must be excluded are the ones who are transgressing people's rights, um, snatching away their rights, oppressing. These are the ones that need to be accounted for, and these are the exact evil that a progressive world cannot really tolerate. And right now we see the equations are that the Zionist regime pretty much goes on to dictate who is good and who is evil in the world, and they work from beyond any accountability. They are not accountable to ICJ, the International Court of Justice. They're not accountable. No, there's no other power that's accounting for them, but they are in a way accounting everybody. And they've got this highly skewed dystopian worldview, and wherein they would want to function as a superior power and everything else losing around them. If this is the kind of world that they have envisioned for themselves and for the territory, it's detrimental to peoples at large. And all of these people give it a, I mean, you give it a you know, leave it. They would one day stand up and defend for themselves or fend for themselves, even though like exactly what is unfolding in Iran right now. It was unprovoked hostility, unprovoked and illegal war, and that has prompted Iranians to stand up and defend and shoot out all of these missiles in the region. They were so close to securing a deal in between negotiations. And who in the world would bomb such a deal where there were significant concessions being given by the Iranians like never before? Not even Obama secured such concessions. So
Yeah,
Trump finally
agreed.
manages to secure those concessions, but the Israeli lobby, the Zionist regime, goes out of the way and bombs this table and bombs the country. And they are going unaccountable at this point in time. They have to be brought under the accountability of the ICJ. I don't know why America. This is why. I mean, this is where America is going down behind them. I mean, the reputation of America is damaged so much so that they might end up losing all of the control that they wielded over the Middle East over the years, and that's a big loss. That's a massive loss for
Yeah,
Americans.
absolutely. There's a comment here from BP and BPP. and I really appreciate it. It says policymakers ignore the Jewish Council of Australia, who are pro-Palestinian, and so we have the Australian Jewish Association, which is the Zionist right-wing group, and then we do have the Jewish Council of Australia. If anybody's interested too, I would suggest that you look up the Independent Jewish Journal, which is a fabulous piece of writing, or a journal, I should say, that reflects not the right-wing version of the Jewish community. And BP makes another statement here, which I just want to bring up. Where is it? Here it goes. Things are moving so fast here, it's hard to keep up with it. Says, Islam family have been out of control for decades and getting worse with the far right. And I thought that's an interesting comment to make, given that you're online at the moment, Daniel. And I just thought perhaps you could comment just on that as well as a Muslim.
I think the West has enjoyed a beautiful relationship with the Middle East in terms of economy, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of riches being poured in and the oil being poured in. This enjoyable relationship that the West has had with the Middle East was somehow, unfortunately, not reflected in the media, and it was not celebrated. So, although they were mutually gaining from each other, the Middle East, no doubt, has gained quite a lot from the West in terms of technology, in terms of infrastructure that they put up and everything. And I mean, they did quite a lot themselves. I mean, credit to them. I'm not stealing anything away from them. I'm not saying that America built all the infrastructure in the Middle East. That's not the case. That'll be an incorrect statement. The Middle Easterners did quite a lot themselves, but they did enjoy this relationship that they have with the Americans and the West in general. And that relationship of the Middle East was not celebrated in the popular media, and therefore the ignorance prevails. People in the West sort of saw the Middle East as an estranged party. They never came to a sort of belongingness with the Middle East, even though there was pretty strong economic relationship and financial relationship that could have gotten reflected in the media, somewhat better, so people can actually understand and each other and sort of become familiar with each other. Seeing that this has not happened, what instead did happen was a lot of the disturbing situations from the Middle East, the chaotic situations from the Middle East and Afghanistan was what being broadcasted into the Western media, so much so that people in the West started hating Muslims and started hating Islam, even without not knowing at all, like having not had a firsthand take on the Quran, having not had read the Quran. They started hating Islam and started hating Muslims for what they see of some of these ancient traditions in Afghanistan, for example, the way they conduct themselves, their traditions, their culture. It's not the brush with which the Islamic world should have been painted with, but unfortunately, that's how it became painted because of the media that was in favor of painting a negative picture of Islam in general, and not so much sharing the good relationships, the beneficial relationships that we or the West had with the Middle Eastern countries. So I think that's the goal.
Yeah. Great points. I really do appreciate that. Someone has also raised this issue. Aman said Iran had agreed to long-term concessions that would have threatened the long-term Zionist vision for Greater Israel. And there's probably an element of truth in all of that as well. So thanks, Brian, I think that put that up. Yeah, really do appreciate it.
They were the ones who were the middleman, actually, in this deal. So,
yeah. So I just want to bring us, because we're at 54 minutes, which is amazing. How quickly has that gone for you, Daniel?
Really quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's amazing. So I just wanted to bring in the Iranian soccer players issue as well, because that's really topical right at this particular point in time. So I'll just bring out this ABC article. Iranian soccer player escapes minders and secure asylum in Australia. Lovely photo of Tony Burke with the 5. There are now 7 people, I heard this morning, that have now, there's an additional 2 have signed up to entering and staying in Australia. As the Iranian women's team jogged off the field of the Gold Coast Arena Stadium on Sunday night, Australian officials were waiting for them. Their purpose was to sign in the strongest possible terms, to signal, in the strongest possible terms, that if any of the young women wanted to talk, there were people standing by to help. Establishing contact with the players was the first of several hurdles that had to be overcome for Australia to pull off the events that followed in the next 24 hours. Discussions with players began in earnest in the early hours yesterday when it became clear 5 members of the team wanted asylum. When the women slipped away from their minders last night, Australian Federal Police and Queensland's police were there to escort them. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke met the group about 9 p.m. to sign their applications for temporary humanitarian visas, ending an agonising period for the athletes, who had been in the spotlight since they were labelled traitors on Iranian state TV for not signing the national anthem before a game. So it is somewhat of a relief, and I think this is evident where a decision can be made by government, which really indicates to all of us that there are times when governments do the right thing, and this is blatantly one of those. One of the issues that has occurred is that Donald Trump, for some bizarre reason, is claiming some form of credit for all of this by saying he contacted Albanese and has convinced Albanese to do what he's done. That is absolute bullshit. But nevertheless, this is the impression. So, I don't understand. I'll get a response from you in a moment, Daniel. But I don't understand why it is that Donald Trump, who is busily bombing the shit out of a country at the moment full of Iranian people, is suddenly celebrating the fact that we have made a decision about Iranian people staying in Australia. It is inconsistent, but that is who, I guess, Donald Trump is. I'm just wondering what response you have to any of that.
Well, to be honest with you, I would want to step in those shoes and see how we as a country would fare if our athletes, say our footy players, went out to a different country, say for example in the Middle East, and refused to sing the national anthem. I don't know what would be the response from Sky News or ABC.
Great point.
I would imagine it would be something similar because these are people. I mean, obviously Sky News and ABC is not the government. I mean, even though the government does fund ABC, that's a separate issue. But these people have the freedom to express their the feelings. And if Iranian TV, state television, has responded calling them traitors, I would see that response as no different to how any other country would respond to their players who drop their national anthem in a foreign land. So, not singing national anthem itself is signing up to be announcing that I'm a traitor. Like I don't like Iran. I'm in foreign country right now. I don't like Iran, and something that's fishy in this news that I did read about this is there's already Iranian diaspora living in Australia in contact with these players to sort of have them arrange living here. So there has been back channel motivation talks already, and I think this event, not singing of their national anthem during the games, was like a pre-planned or pre-arranged kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, nothing against the players. I'm in favor of them settling down in Australia and let them have great time here. Nothing against them. But look, I come from India, and Iran, you can imagine, is much like India. Or all of these Eastern countries, except for the Middle East, the Gulf, the Arab Gulf countries are different. Like they are modern economies and modern infrastructure, but not so much Iran and not so much India or Pakistan, right? So if you are from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, people from here, they would want to experience life elsewhere, which apparently looks much better on the TV. Like, for example, not just these athletes from Iran. I think the famous prodigy chess player, his name is Ali Reza Firouzja, when he was confronted by the Iranian policies of not having to game with the Israeli chess players, he decided to leave Iran and he went to France and he became naturalized in France as a citizen over there, and he now plays off France. So people do a lot of hard work in these countries. They go through education, work, and to be able to migrate to foreign countries. And you can imagine I did the same thing. My pathway into Australia was through strenuous education, work, years of work, and then finally you secure, the pathway to go travel foreign countries and to settle down there. And nothing is different in this particular case. If sports can be those very means that you can actually travel to foreign countries and settle down there, people would be motivated to do that. And these athletes are no exception. I think so. They have found through back channel network with the diaspora living here in Australia that it's possible to live in Australia and you can be naturalized if you sort of in this unfolding situation, especially if you sort of resist the Iranian
Yep.
regime or the government or whatever it is. So I think it's played out very, very nice, favorably in their favor to be naturalized here with those visas granted to them. It's nothing special. I don't really add any value by the government of Australia to having issued them those visas. I mean, I don't necessarily see any value addition in it, but if that's what Australians have done, then I think they've acted in a sympathetic way to Iranian players. From what their perception is about Iran, the West's perception of Iran is this evil regime that's not in favor of the people, but it's not true, and I don't necessarily buy that from the West. This narrative that Iranian regime or the government is not pro, but sort of persecutes them. No, I mean persecution happens everywhere. Recently I was shocked to see the way the police behaved in Australia in those demonstrations.
Yeah.
They went out
Yeah.
pretty how do I say this, pretty rough, trying to
It was
beating
harsh.
people
It
down,
was
and
very harsh
pretty
and
harsh,
violent,
pretty
for that
harsh.
matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So all the governments do this when there is some form of demonstration that the government is unable to handle. They
Yeah,
get down to
I
boots
guess
and they get
as
down to canes.
I'll push back against that. I mean, it is a bit different from, people protesting and the government coming out and killing some 10, 15, 20,000 of them, which is reported in Iran. I hope that stuff never happens in Australia, that's for sure. I just wanted to bring us up. Someone multi-front has put this comment up, which I thought was really interesting. Pauline Hanson was on UK TV. I didn't see this, thank God, the other day with her anti-immigration and anti-asylum seeker stance. The amount of support in her comments for her is concerning. And you're dead right. And there's another one from the same person. I just want to bring this one up also, where she says she is avoiding the Iranian Muslim women football players issue. Is she ever? And I think that's a really interesting point. There has been crickets from her, from Pauline Hanson and from One Nation in relation to this issue, because we must remember it was Pauline Hanson who said that there are no good Muslims, apparently. I'm speaking to one right now, an exceptional person who just happens to be Muslim. So completely untrue, and so on. So I just wanted to, because we've kind of got to wrap up. We're over the normal hour a lot. We've had 133 people on viewing us today, so I really appreciate those people that have logged in. And I just need to bring us to the vote. Does the election of Matt Canavan as the Nationals leader move politics further to the right? We've got 36 votes. 75% say yes, and we're still on the 25% no. If you've got a chance to pop in your version, what you want before we close that poll, please do, because I'll be interested to see whether that number increases or decreases. I just want to come to this particular point. Migration agents share details of secret operation to get Iranian footballers, asylum seekers alone. I think this is an important take because the Iranians had their minders watching these people. And I don't even know. One of the questions that amazes me is why these Iranians IRGC people were allowed into Australia in the first place. Question that needs to be answered, I think. It says, after the increasing urgency over the fate of Iran's women's football team in the past few days, the breakthrough came last night. At the team's Gold Coast hotel, the 5 players who have since been granted humanitarian visas managed to go back to their room alone, away from the team's constant security presence. And it was then they were taken to a private room so they could speak to migration agent Nagar Madani, who informed them about their options for asylum. She says they were scared they would be persecuted after Iran State TV condemned them for not singing the national anthem before the first. What courage these women have. It needs to be admired, I think. They were under a lot of stress. They didn't know what to do. They were worried about their family, their issues in Iran. What is the best decision to make now? What if we stay here and we lose all our assets in Iran? Ms. Daniels told ABC News. They wanted to stay, but they were worried about the consequences because you know how the government of Iran can confiscate everything. And I guess my point there is, in closing, Daniel, that it really is helpful for us to be able to identify the courage that these people took to make the decision that they made. Now, we've got to come to an end. I'm just wondering whether you want to put some concluding comments together before we say goodbye. And I just need to say that if Daniel wants to come back and do this again at another time on a Wednesday, we'd be more than happy to facilitate that. So how was the experience? What was it like? Talk to us.
It's fantastic, actually, to find a friend like yourself and to talk about these things. All these days I was alone pretty much doing my own thing, but it's lovely to meet you and lovely to be doing this with you. And I mean, it's an opportunity for me to understand how an Aussie thinks, basically, and even you can actually understand my takes. And as an immigrant into this country, I mean, I'm now naturalized as a citizen here, but I'm clearly an immigrant with half my life spent outside of Australia. So it might be worthwhile talking to me and listening to me and how I think and perceive Australia as a society. Going down the line, as we're integrating with many immigrants from all across the world, all across the globe. So how, as a society, from multicultural society, we can evolve, and what are the pros and cons? We can talk about those things. And particularly here, I want to end on here, this particular note here. It does take some courage. I mean, if I'm from India, if I was that sportsman, say for example a cricketer, to come in Adelaide Stadium and not sing my national anthem would definitely take some courage. But there is hopes in this diaspora that they have offered them the community that they would lack otherwise. So they have found their Iranian community. They found the help, the asylum visas. So I think they've been looked after, taken care of. But it does take courage not to sing your national anthem in a foreign country and to go against the values of your own country. I don't know what strong reasons that they had to do that, but there is clearly thousands and hundreds and thousands of Iranians right now supporting their government to sort of defend their national interests and their national pride and dignity. So individuals may have different choices, and it does take courage as a human being to do that, but at the same time, they're well looked after here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've noticed a number of Australians don't sing our national anthem at the cricket, and I think that is simply because they don't know the words. I don't think it's about not being loyal to the country or whatever. Daniel, stay online. I'll catch you at the end of this, but I do want to thank you for being here. It was absolutely fantastic. And I just need to say, in conclusion, is firstly I want to thank Daniel for his contribution. It was great to have him on board. I'm sure we'll do more of these over the next coming weeks. Just remember that on Thursday, tomorrow, I'm doing a live feed with Avery, which will be a bombshell. And I wanted to say, look, could you please remember to subscribe to my channel, to ring the bell for further notifications. It does help me, and it helps the algorithm. Like the video, because the algorithm likes you to do that as well. So I just want to say thanks everybody for being here. so looking forward to seeing you all real soon, possibly tomorrow. Take care.